There are speculations that the Knicks are going to be in talks with Portland to try to see if they can acquire Damian Lillard. There are talks that the Knicks could possibly be interested in trying to acquire John Wall if the price is right for Houston. And the latest news, I think I saw it this morning, that the Knicks could potentially be interested in bringing in veteran guard Dennis Schroeder and veteran forward Kelly Oubre to the already young and up and coming roster that is the Knicks. So, Kyle, with those four names right then and there, I'm just going to ask you bluntly, are any of them possible other than not? Okay, excuse me. Let me rephrase, because two of them are possible because they're affordable because they did not have good seasons. But the other two names, do you see the Knicks going out there and really trying to throw the kitchen sink, the laundry machine, and then the fucking boiler to go out and get Damian Lillard, or to even give the Houston Rockets a dishwasher for a 30-year-old John Wall?
Not really. See, here's the thing. I'm of the mindset that the Knicks have a great young core. Now, what comes along with that is growing pains. And we saw that in the playoffs this year. I think the Knicks should just stay with the core of guys that they have. And the reason why I say that is because I think that there's this idea amongst NBA GMs that if these young players don't develop to the way that they want them to within the first 2 to 3 years of starting with the team, they are already looking to move them because they're not playing up to expectations. Imagine if the Lakers had gotten rid of Kobe Bryant or traded Kobe after his bad playoff performance where he was chucking up air balls in the first playoff series that he played in. I'm just saying, you have to allow these guys to develop. Julius Randle won Most Improved Player of the Year. RJ Barrett is still coming into his own. And you have some good veteran leadership with Taj Gibson and Derrick Rose. Granted, I know Taj Gibson isn't what I would consider like the best player in the league, but he provides a solid veteran presence on the team, and so does Derrick Rose. I think that those assets on the team are invaluable, especially to some young guys like Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. I say keep those guys there. If you want to listen to the offers of trying to get Damian Lillard or maybe look towards Kawhi if Kawhi becomes available, depending on how his situation goes with the Clippers, you can entertain, at least hear the possible offers that either the Clippers or the Trailblazers want in return. But outside of that, I say stick with the guys that they have and continue to build their confidence. And if they do that, they'll be fine. I really do think if they keep this core together, that the Knicks could potentially end up in a situation where they could play in an Eastern Conference Finals, just because I do think that they have that potential. You have to let these guys keep playing at the level that they're playing at and let them continue to gradually improve their skills as time progresses. I truly believe, and this is like the optimist in me, I truly believe that the Knicks could one day be a top 2, top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. They're already top 4 after this season. Granted, could this one season be a fluke and they kind of return to their old ways? Yeah, maybe. I'm not going to rule that out. But when I look across the league, when I look at what the Lakers had with Jordan Clarkson, Julius Randle, who else? Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, all those guys are now playing either above average or stellar play of basketball. Brandon Ingram has been improving every single year that he's played with the Pelicans. Lonzo Ball has changed his jump shot and is what I would consider an average to an above average point guard. And then when you look at Julius Randle, he's been outstanding for the Knicks ever since the Knicks acquired him, I believe 2 seasons ago. And now you're looking at Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson's the 6th man of the year for Utah. He's damn near averaging starter numbers. So I think if the Knicks are smart here, they look at the model that the Lakers have with their young guys, except they keep them. Let those guys develop. And I think that this could potentially be a competent franchise for the next couple of years. I don't think that they should just hit the eject button and try to send everybody that they have from their young core to go get Damian Lillard for maybe 1 to 2 years, maybe 3 at the most, of trying to get a championship with Damian Lillard. Don't get me wrong, Dame is great. If they try to go for Kawhi, if Kawhi is available, fine. But at the expense of these young guys, the potential that they could bring for the next decade, I say they should just stick with the core that they have. Try to get some mid-level free agents, something that's realistic, not a pipe dream like, oh, we're going to go get 2 top-flight free agents. That's not going to happen. Look for some guys that you can build around to bolster the roster, and I think they'll be fine. I think they got a winning formula here.
Here's the issue. I just looked up the Knicks roster for 2022 on contract. This is bad. I didn't realize they literally lost everyone. The only active players on this roster that aren't like rookies or like 10-day contracts, like G League players, is Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Kevin Knox, who will probably get let go because he has sucked since he's come out of Kentucky, and then Mitchell Robertson, who has been hurt for the last couple of years for the Knicks. So you literally have a total of 6 players that have seen the court, because the other 2 players on this list are Luca Vildoza and Norvel Pelly. I've never seen them touch the court. Maybe they come in garbage time. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I don't care. But there goes Taj. There goes D Rose. There goes Reggie. There goes Norlands Noel. I mean, that's 4 vets right there that played really good minutes for this Knicks team. Granted, we don't know the situation and what they're going to do in the offseason, but I would assume you're going to go out there and you're going to give, money to the players that rightfully deserve it. AKA, I think Derrick Rose gets an extension. I think really Reggie Bullock maybe comes back on a 1-year deal. But here's the thing. Here's why I will disagree with you to a certain extent. I believe that they have the capability to go after these free agents or available players depending on what they do in free agency. And I only say that because I hate to sound like a prick. New York is New York. You want top money. You want to play in the greatest city in the world. Now that fans are coming back into the stadium next season, I would assume everybody's back at 100% capacity, no restrictions, because we pretty much are getting there during this postseason. I think they have the potential to go maybe after the John Wall, the risk. Not that I'm saying it's going to happen. Not that I'm saying I would like for it to happen, but that takes care of the point guard situation in terms of the starter. He had a great year this year. He's still relatively healthy. I'm not saying they do it. I'm just saying I think they have the opportunity to go after a player like that because this is the first winning season they've had in 8 years. New York is rocking again. Obviously, the city was behind this team 100%. With a young, inexperienced team, excluding a few veterans, they were the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, and they're coming off of a Coach of the Year season in Tom Thibodeau. They have attractive pieces on all aspects of the fucking game. They have cap space, they have up-and-coming young stars, and they have a great coaching staff. So I really think, and obviously, again, it's New York City. They have the potential to acquire somebody. They probably go out and do it because the Knicks can't help themselves. If someone's available, it's like bringing a kid to a candy store and asking them not to grab a candy bar. It's just they just can't do it. They're going to have a lot of money this next offseason, pending if they give people extensions and whatnot. But I'm curious to see what they do this season. I don't think they go after Dame. They literally don't have any pieces here that Portland's going to want to take away from them. And I don't think that they're going to go after Dennis Schroeder and Kelly Oubre because those are just negative signings. Maybe Dennis, because Dennis has the potential to play at an offensive clip, and he does play solid defense. He won't have to be as an important role as he would have been on the Lakers because once AD went out, he pretty much was the second option, if we're being completely honest, and he just kind of flopped at that point. So we'll see what happens in that regard. But the Knicks have a shot here this offseason. Good culture, good environment, cap space, and they have good players. So who's to say they don't go after, like you said, maybe a middle to high, like maybe like a B plus kind of free agent superstar, like a Kyle Lowry, like a veteran point guard. You know what I'm saying? Something around that aspect. Maybe a DeMar DeRozan. Who knows?
This pipe dream of them trying to get Dame They need
That
to
needs to
stop that.
stop. They
They
have
need to
to. I just
stop.
read you their roster. There's nothing here unless you give them Julius Randle,
Do you,
Mitchell Robinson, R.J. Barrett, and future first round picks, and maybe throw in Tom Thibodeau because they don't have a head coach right now.
you think that Houston's gonna just willingly give up John Wall like that?
No, but I mean, his contract is eating up a lot, and they're in full rebuild mode. There's no reason to eat up that much money. So I think that he definitely moves this offseason.
What, for somebody that can't stay healthy? I don't think it's worth it for them. I say stick with the young guys. Let these guys develop for a couple years and see what you make of it. I've always been of the mindset that it is best to build from within and build them up. Look what Golden State was able to accomplish from their own draft classes. I'm not saying that
I agree.
I'm not saying that the Knicks are going to win 3 to 4 titles and they're going to take over the league. But I've always been of the mindset it is better to develop the team from within, build them up over a couple years. That way, that just the chemistry is a lot better that way than picking free agents like left and right, trying to put a puzzle piece together like the Lakers did when LeBron went to LA. I've always been of that mindset.
So I just looked up the free agents in this next upcoming summer, right? This is, guys, I know we're dragging on this a little long, but I mean, the Knicks always find a way to be in this particular echelon of a top.
I'm not even a Knicks fan, and I want the Knicks to be good. It's just don't abandon these guys. I
don't think they're going to abandon. So check this out. Excluding Kawhi Leonard, he is the top upper echelon. He's got a player option. There's no guarantee he even leaves LA, right? So I'm just gonna remove him for a second. Okay. Chris Paul is next on this list. This is NBC Sports' top, right? So we'll see what happens. But there's rumors that he's going to opt out and he's going to ask for another $100 million contract. We'll talk about that another day.
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan is a free agent, 100%. He's 31. He's probably leaving San Antonio. I don't know if that helps RJ Barrett and if he takes over the forward spot in New York. I don't know. He provides veteran leadership, good offensive player, solid defense, and very efficient from the field and the free throw line. So a potential option. He's never going to get another $28, $30 million contract like he did with the Spurs. It's potential. That's one person.
That to me is realistic.
Okay, and then the next two players are Kyle Lowry and Mike Conley. I didn't even know Mike Conley was available. Mike Conley is a great, stable, and efficient point guard when healthy. He had a very big resurgent year this year. He helped Utah become the best team in the Western Conference and the best team in the league record-wise. And obviously, Kyle Lowry, veteran guard. Everybody knows, very efficient scorer when healthy as well. Good ball handler, clock management. He's coming off of a $30 million year in terms of his final contract year with the Raptors. But who's to say the Knicks don't sign him for a year or two to see what he can do in terms of at least being able to dominate the ball, bring the ball up and give them an actual true and honest point guard. And I mean, obviously there's other people. There's Lonzo Ball. He's a restricted free agent. Who knows if the Pelicans re-sign him? So, I mean, whatever people offer him, he could get that matched by the Pelicans. I'm just looking at the guards remaining. And, you have Spencer Dinwiddie, excuse me. You have Norman Powell, had a great year this year. You know what I'm saying? Evan Fournier had a bad stint in Boston in the remainder of the second half of the year, but who's to say he doesn't have, an Orlando Magic year the next time you have Devontae Graham, who's young. And then I'm just looking at, Tim Hardaway Jr., does he come back to New York? And then Gary Trent Jr. There's a lot of, like I said, B to B plus level free agents here that won't break the bank, but are veterans. And then you have Victor Oladipo. I'm not saying he goes or leaves Miami, but I mean, the guy got traded like 2 times this season and barely played at all.
I understand the temptation to go after a top flight free agent. I get that. But I'm telling you right now, I would be thrilled, not as a Knicks fan, to see someone like Mike Conley Jr. or DeMar DeRozan be on the Knicks, simply because it's like I mentioned earlier with that veteran leadership. You can't put a price on that. That's invaluable. Granted, that's something that we don't see. We see it on the court, but it's like the day-to-day interactions that they have with the players in practice, the off-the-court conversations that they have one-on-one outside of just the team facilities. Like, you can't put a value on that because that stuff is priceless. Like Damian Lillard would be great on the Knicks. I'm not discounting that, but at what cost is it going to be to go get him? I'm just saying it's more realistic and probably a better option to go after somebody like Mike Conley Jr., DeMar DeRozan, maybe Gary Trent Jr., just because you don't have to break the bank, like you said. And I think it's within their best interest to keep the young core together and make the most of it. I don't think this is like something you have to blow the whole team up because you got bounced out in the first round of the playoffs. Everybody, all these young guys have to go through some sort of adversity through their career. And guess what? They may get to the playoffs next year. Guess what? They could get bounced out of the first round again. Jordan had a habit of getting knocked out of the first round of the playoffs. But over time, they finally found ways to become a winning basketball team and then eventually a championship winning team. I'm not saying that's going to happen with the Knicks. I'm just saying you have to kind of go, these young players have to go through the trials and tribulations that go along with becoming a possible NBA champion. And the way that I see it, I just think that there's this rush to blow it up and try to get a top flight player if he's available. Right? I know they tried that with KD and Kyrie the other a couple years back, and look how it ended up. They couldn't get him. And now you're in a situation where you have a good core of young guys, and you're going to blow it up to get a couple years of Damian Lillard. I don't think that's going to result in I don't think it's going to result in an NBA championship.
It would be repeating what he has in Portland, honestly.
You're
going to blow it up, and he's going to be the only person on that team.
Exactly. So it's like, is it worth it for me? No. Go after some mid-level free agents. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think the Knicks can make a run. Obviously, their front office is going to be smarter this offseason. I think that they need to start with, potentially giving Julius an extension, getting Derrick Rose back in the building, and then they can move on from there.
Let me ask you just a quick one. What do you think the Knicks' true potential is with these guys?
I wouldn't go as far as what you said in terms of Eastern Conference Finals, because obviously there are a lot of outlying pieces right now. We have no idea what's going on. This roster scares me right now. Like, to know that there are only 4 players that touch the basketball court remaining on this team is very, very concerning. There are 7 available roster spots on this. This is very bad in terms of seeing how far they can go, because they did well with this group. And unless they re-sign everybody, excluding Kevin Knox and kicking Elfrid Payton out to the curb, this team is not going to be the same, because they created an identity and they made a run with what they had in that locker room. And we both know in all of sports, if you change that core, that group of guys that made that historic or that one good year run, it could happen, like you said a few minutes ago. They could end up flopping and going back to one of the worst teams in the league, because now they know, all right, we're gonna keen in on Julius Randle. We're gonna let RJ Barrett shoot, and Mitchell Robertson might play half the year because of his injuries. Who knows? I think they need to make an impactful statement by going out and signing young, impactful players. Like I said, B to B plus. And if they have the cap and the availability to go out and get a bigger one, like a DeMar, like a DeMar, yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly. In that mid-tier level, Mike Conley Jr., then you do it. But if not, like we've been saying, veterans, re-sign Derrick Rose, maybe bring back Taj Gibson or Nerlens Noel for the defensive purpose that they bring in the veteran leadership as well. And Tom Thibodeau's the core right there. Tom Thibodeau's the guy that brings them all together. Defensive efficiency. We all know the type of players that he likes to bring into the system. So we will see what happens. I did not expect this segment to go as long as it has, but that's what the Knicks tend to do to me. And they just drag out fucking internal segments.
I'm not even a Knicks fan, but there's general excitement about this team. I can't explain it.
Can't shake it. Yeah, there's just something about it. And there's a buzz back in the city, and that's big.